Good morning, Quasar Markets Live. I hope everyone's having a great start to your day here. I've been joined by the legend himself, Big Beat, Stephen Orr. Big Beat, how are we doing today?
I'm good, Howard. How are you this morning, man?
I'm doing good, man. I just, you and I were just talking. I think investors are spooked out of their minds right now. We're just so many data points coming in, so many tweets. Up is up, down is down, then up is down, and down is up. So, what are you thinking here?
Look, you're right. There's too much data points coming at people pretty fast, left and right. But I think the biggest problem right now that everybody's having is there's three things. Number one is we don't know when Trump's going to tweet or say something out of the White House, the blue pulpit. Number two, earnings are coming pretty quickly now, and those earnings are mixed. They're not good, easy numbers to understand. They're not all positive. They're not all negative. They're very mixed bag. Google did a very good job of that yesterday, beating on earnings by a couple of pennies, but missing on Google Clouds. Really?
Right.
And then you saw numbers like Fair Isaac and things of that nature that you just don't really understand the back end of it. And then Canadian exports came out this morning, and they are exploding for two reasons. Number one is that the Canadian dollar, the loonie price has gone way down, and the looming literally this
Tariffs,
trade war.
yeah. I mean, I think that'd be a takeaway that I have today too. Don't read too much into
Right.
These trade numbers right now, because there was a lot of loading up, getting ready for this to come, right? The same way that we saw it, talked about before the holidays with, certain companies had bought their stuff early. This is that type of thing.
Right.
I think we got to start with Google, like you said, a little different than what we normally do. It's been down about 7%. Let me get to my right watch list here. Yeah, down about 7.23% here right now. Their cloud revenue grew 30% year over year, but they missed expectations. So again, like you said, it's been hard to read into these things because some of these earnings aren't that bad. It's just a matter of they're not as high as the lofty expectations maybe that the street had to justify the multiples that some of this stuff's trading at, right? Would that be a better sort of analogy to what might be
a good
going on
example
there
that would
in
be
earnings?
Nvidia, right? Nvidia is trading a crazy numbers, but they're winning in the game on all fronts. So yeah, right. We're trying to get to the point where it's a little bit more of a balance, shall we say? But I'm not too scared about this. I think the market goes right back on up. I think there's so much money on the sidelines, and the earnings aren't terrible. So yeah, I'm not too worried about this right now, Howard.
Yeah, I will say it got some quick reactions out of analysts. I saw Citigroup came out with a buy at 229 price target. Morningstar came out with them at fair value 237. DA Davidson was the most negative that I saw. They have them at neutral at a $200 price target, and RBC also has them at an outperform at 235. All those came out in the last 12 hours since earnings. So I did want to share those with everybody.
Yeah, but I think a lot of people don't really realize that Google's having problems. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not searching on Google anymore, right? I'm cutting back my Google Gmail. I'm cutting back on all my calendar stuff. I think that Google's in a real problem, but they're going to do what everybody else has been doing, like Microsoft did, with Facebook did. When you're behind on the AI, and they are, there's going to buy somebody, and that's what they're going to do. I think we saw $75 billion what they're going to put into CapEx, meaning they're going to
into AI infrastructure, 29% higher than expected. That's a great one that you just brought up, because we've seen that affect the stock prices after these earnings calls, right? If there's not enough CapEx, people are getting nervous. If there's too much CapEx, though,
Right.
It's really spooking people because they're wondering, is that, you think, part of this, like Jensen, CEO of Nvidia, coming out and saying, hey, we're not quite there. If you think AI is there, we're still 5 years away, or quantum computing, 5 years away. Is that maybe part of this?
Said something that it was very prescient, because he said it in a way that said, okay, look, AI is not here the way that you think that AI should be, right? Let me back this up. What does he mean by that? AI is here, okay? He's not saying that AI isn't here. He's not saying that people aren't using AI. I mean, we did a poll, and 47% of people that we polled are using AI on a daily basis. What he's saying is that AI is not up to the standards it was when the internet came around for the first time. right? When the internet came around for the first time, not everybody was on the internet. Not everybody had dial-up. Not everybody had all those things. You had to have a more powerful computer. You had to have a modem in your computer, for heaven forbid, right?
Yeah.
Not
Have a
everybody
phone
did.
line.
You had to have a phone line, and you had, people weren't really using the internet the way that we use it today, right? Now we can't even get out of bed before the machine tells us what's going on, right? That's what he's talking about. He's saying AI will be a part of your life like the internet is right now. Your head will be in the AI automatically. Now, it already is, but what he's saying is it'll be part of your automated life every day. And
Absolutely.
Right. And that is, I totally agree with him. It's 4 to 5 years away.
Yeah. And we're just touching the surface. Even though you and I are early adopters here into using AI in our daily life a lot, we're still not even scratching the surface of what it will do in the future, like you're saying. Right. And I think it's that balance people are looking for, right? And where Google ran into problems is their legacy business, right? Their cloud business, YouTube, all those things aren't providing that excess revenue that people want to see to subsidize that CapEx expenditure and the delay it's going to take to see the revenue maybe from AI. And I also think Jensen was talking a little bit about the revenue. Some of these companies aren't going to see the revenue yet from AI, right?
I don't think they'll see revenue for a while. I mean, it reminds me.
I'm with you. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, absolutely. So I do think that's part of the problems here. I did see that YouTube actually exceeded expectations. So again, a little bit of the legacy still continuing to do that.
Yeah, but I see YouTube as a back end. I don't think it's now the front end anymore. No one's going to YouTube to just watch videos anymore. They're using YouTube as the back end for whatever.
Absolutely.
In our case, staying here, right? We're doing it here. Right. The forward facing that we're seeing is on Twitter, and it's on LinkedIn and things of that nature. So you're not seeing this literally anymore just on YouTube. So Google's got some issues. One of the numbers we just saw, Disney today. Disney beat, but here's the Mouse House is losing subscribers on Disney Plus. So, they're going to have to kick some butt a little bit. But right now, to be honest with you, I still like Disney. The parks are doing well. I think they're working on movies, and I think you're going to see that. One thing that I did know, Disney is a U.S. company, and guess what? They're selling in U.S. dollars. So if we want to shift a little bit, guess who's winning in the war? And I think I posted it here in the bottom, is Canada. Their exports are up 9% due to the trade war and the Canadian dollar being so cheap right now. So all of these things are affecting the bottom lines of earnings, are affecting, especially if you're a U.S. company, dollar being so high. I mean, my goodness. Now we're about at 107.57 here, but it's really affecting things. You want to win the war and trade, you don't have to go after having tariffs. You just have to lower the currency of which you play in.
Right, absolutely. Getting back to Disney, I do have some things here.
Yeah.
Again, like you said, their biggest takeaway there was that they lost 700,000 subscribers. They were expecting, and it said they were going to lose 1 million, though, as they changed their pricing structure and stuff. So it did do a little better there. Their studio division turned a profit. Moana 2, which I did see with the little one, did very well. And here was the one that I saw. ESPN, 15% increase in domestic ad revenue.
I mentioned that yesterday on Schwab Network, that ESPN is turning it around. Why?
They have turned. I was about to say that. They've seemed to have turned ESPN around. And where I think that there's room for improvement is, again, their theme park profit stayed flat. A lot of that had to do with the hurricanes. They lost a lot of revenue, and they had to do some repairs. But I did think that was
football. College football was hot this year, and ESPN was right in the forefront of that. They also dropped some of their bigger names in college football that did some of the announcing, and they got cheaper people to do it. That always helps, and those margins mean a lot, right? So
they went and they got rid of a lot of those talking heads on ESPN over the last 24 months, and they're seeing that work. So a nice little win there by Disney. So that was good to see. Steve, one I think we have to go into, you mentioned what's happening overseas. Novo Nordisk came in with their revenue. Let me pull them up here.
I don't think I have to explain this one too much, right? I mean, it's very simple. People are doing the weight loss drugs, and Novo's winning. Wegovy is winning. You're seeing it from Zepbound, Mounjaro. All of them are winning. The numbers are people on these drugs. Now that we're seeing it also, they're making them again, and there's not so they don't have to worry about someone trying to steal the drug from them anymore. And they're producing it at a very fast rate. It's something that I've always talked about with biotech, right? It's not that you're curing a problem. It's not that you've got the best drugs. You also got to be able to manufacture it, right? And
Right.
the companies that win are the ones who have the manufacturing process and the ability to produce those drugs over and over again, and sell them to the doctors in the pharmacies and especially with UNH, with companies like that. You're going to see a much bigger selling point there with these companies. And you're starting to see insurance companies kind of bending over a little bit and actually accepting more people that are on these weight loss drugs. You're seeing it already. We talked about this forever, Howard, and it's now come to fruition. The restaurant business, the alcohol business, all of these things are being affected by these weight loss drugs. It's now coming into fruition. And as you see that, people are seeing other people lose weight. Well, I want to lose weight. I want to lose weight. I want to lose weight. And they're going to the doctor. So UNH is going to continue to move higher. Insurance are going to may get hit a bit, but you are seeing that. And I think Eli Lilly, LLY, and Novo Nordisk are big winners here, I think.
Yeah, they actually pointed to Eli Lilly's rival drugs, Mounjaro and Zepbound, as a major challenge to their continued growth with Ozempic and Wegovy. Ozempic was slightly above expectations, not really doing that well. Wegovy was the one that really did it. Yeah. The other takeaway that I had is this: they overtook LVMH as Europe's most valuable company now. So we've been wondering what would sort of take the handle and maybe run. Can Novo Nordisk be the one that starts to turn around their economy a little bit? We can hope. They did mention that CagriSema underperformed in trials, so they're a little worried about that, and that one of their other new promising weight loss drugs is still years away from hitting the market. They did say, as you said, compounders will soon be barred from making the knockoffs, so that will help them. Yeah. Unfortunately, they haven't caught up yet. So Lilly's drugs have come off the compounding list already, and we're waiting for Novo to have that happen for them also. So a
NVIDIA
lot of earnings
here.
What was that?
NVIDIA's up 2%.
Yeah, NVIDIA is moving up. If we look overnight, I did want to point out too that we were seeing DXY cool off a little bit. We do have Mr. Flanagan in at 10 o'clock to talk more about currency, so we won't get too deep here. But you can see he's pulled back over the last 3 days since that tariff talk really hit the news on Sunday night. We do see, gold set new all-time high, almost broke to that 2,900 I called for yesterday. Didn't get quite there, 2,877. Seems to be cooling off a little bit here. Silver remaining above 32, Steve. You called on it yesterday. It's holding up pretty nicely here so far.
Bitcoin, I still think we're going to $50 an ounce.
Yeah. Bitcoin holding up right around 98.4. Been up and down overnight. But after dropping, dramatically yesterday, it has rebounded also with everything else. We are set to see QQQ open up down about 60 basis points here. A lot of that led by one or two tech companies really that underperformed. AMD, I think we should probably get into a little bit here. They had earnings last night.
Feds Barkin just came in and said that what happened was consumers kept spending, businesses kept hiring, but big businesses cut investment. So that's what she's saying. I made it very clear on Schwab yesterday that we're going to see a cut here in March. I still believe that. You're starting to see a little bit of the Fed starting to talk a little bit more now about the Fed cut as opposed to
Yeah, absolutely.
There was a challenge from Nicole saying that, "Are you sure, Steve? It seems like you're on the. Are you sure you're not the outlier?" But I think that we're changing the outlook now for a Fed cut in March. So, wow, here we go.
You think we're changing the outlook? No cut in March is what you're saying?
No, I'm saying we cut in March. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was like, whoa. AMD here has plunged, down almost 10% here. They missed estimates in key data center business. They reported better than expected revenue and profit in the quarter that just ended, $1.09 a share on revenue and $7.66 billion topping estimates. But, again, markets aren't happy. It wasn't a good enough beat, and we see chips getting hit pretty hard in general. AMD down almost 10%. Big loser overnight so far has been FMC Corporation, the ag company, down 23% here on weak guidance. I do have some information on their forecast or the quarterly earnings here to pull up for you, give you some stuff here on them.
And AMD's loss is an NVIDIA's win.
Yeah, without a doubt. I did see an analyst report coming out that did talk about that last night that said, NVIDIA's stock plunge is a buying opportunity. It's down almost 17%, 21% in a month, that it could look to be there. And now could be very well be the buying opportunity some people have been waiting for on that. So we will keep an eye there on that for sure. If we look back at the indices here, Nat Gas, pretty stable to where we were yesterday, Steve. Not much of a move there. We have seen a drop down nicely across the 10-year and the 30-year. 30-year really significantly, 1.41% down here. So it does look like you said that we are seeing more of that pivot from the Fed being talked more and more about, and we are seeing these rates start to breathe a little breathing room into the markets, hopefully here as we move into markets. Big winner, Steve, Mattel. Did you buy any Hot Wheels over the weekend? Is that why this is moving up so much on earnings?
I didn't. I can tell you that much. I did buy a little bit when I was in Japan.
There you go.
But I look. When you're not spending money in the restaurants, and these parents aren't spending money at McDonald's for Happy Meals, they are spending money on their kids for toys, and we are seeing that, right? And we're seeing Mattel really push, and I've seen this a few times actually. And you talk about it from the ESPN's perspective in football and things of that nature. I saw Monopoly Go as being advertised everywhere, and I think that their apps for their games have done very well at Mattel, and I really like that. But I think that their concern is going to be in the forefront, right? Is how do we do internationally? Are people going to like G.I. Joe and Barbie internationally? And the answer has been yes. So as the dollar starts to slip, I think Mattel does even better. I think they're right with their guidance. I think their guidance is going to continue to push higher. So yeah, I like Mattel here.
Yeah, I am a fan. I think that, Barbie, they've done a good job of co-branding over the years too. You see their stuff co-branded with McDonald's and all those other companies. And they've done a pretty good job there. I did see that they are projecting an EPS between $1.66 and $1.72. That did blow away the $1.58 estimate that was out there. So again, if we see forward guidance saying, hey, we're actually going to do better than you thought on the street, that is giving you this 12% win here for Mattel here today. They also talked about their diversification of manufacturing and made it clear that less than 40%, when I was surprised by this number, only less than 40% of their global production is in China. I would have said that number was much higher. So that was good to see out of them. And as I mentioned, Hot Wheels, the brand, is showing strong demand, contributing positively to their quarterly reports. While Barbie has faced a little bit of challenge with growth from other companies coming in into that market. So I thought it was a pretty good takeaway there. They are sort of the leader in the day. I was also going to point out that, Palantir and Spotify holding up pretty well after yesterday's moves up. Was trying to see if we were going to see a big, pullback here. Not really. Palantir is down about 1.86%, but I don't think that's bad when you jump up 24% there. So I was happy to see that. Again, like I said, Spotify, the other big gainer yesterday, is actually, doing pretty well here again today, up 13.24, down about 1.87. But I think you'd be happy with that if you were a stockholder or the CEO of either of those companies today. They've made nice moves back. Steve, I also noticed in the chip sector, one that is outperforming AVGO. Here is, continuing to close that gap. It is, overtaken Taiwan Semiconductor as the second largest by, market cap, and it is growing pretty quickly here. Do you think that they are, are they the number 2 to NVIDIA in this, in the chip sector now?
Well, I mean, obviously Broadcom is all about the wireless, and NVIDIA is more about the desktop and more of the bigger computing power, right? I think that they complement each other, right? I mean, I have NVIDIA in my computers, and I have AVGO Broadcom in my phones. So I think that, as we roll out AI, most definitely we need more computing power. I just saw where SMCI, Supermicro SMCI, is ramped up for full production of NVIDIA's Blackwell. I'll post this up again once people can see it. The Blackwell rack scale solutions. I've been saying this, right? NVIDIA's good. So yes, your phone and NVIDIA all work together. They need to work together. And so when they do, you're using AI, OpenAI. And I'll tell you something else. I just saw it. Another line here. OpenAI just said deep research now rolled out to 100% of all pro users. They just took deep research and put it in their own system on top of what they got, right? So all of these things are making the chipsets need to be even stronger. So
Right.
yeah, I think AVGO is going to do very well. I think Broadcom definitely, because they had the double-sided chipset. One side of the chip is for cell phone mobile use. The other side is for Wi-Fi. I think they're making a better chip here coming up pretty soon. And I think all of those things will add up in the future. We need to get our dollar needs to, what we're seeing now, our dollar softening here. We need those softening. We need the rate cut to happen, and then people can start buying. You see what happened in Canada. The minute that the loonie dropped the price, all of a sudden people are saying, well, you know what? It's just cheaper to buy things in Canada. So you know what? I'll take advantage of that. And I did the same thing in Tokyo. I took advantage when the dollar was strong against the yen. I did that. So the same thing here. I think the future is pretty bright for NVIDIA and for AVGO and for SMCI and for all these companies.
Yeah, can't argue there. Steve, one of the favorite companies you have liked to rail on over the years, Apple down about 2% today, weighing on the NASDAQ. They are facing potential antitrust probe in China. The State Administration for Market Regulation, SAMR, there is considering an antitrust probe into Apple's App Store policies. The focus is on their 30% commissions on in-app purchases and their banning of third-party payment methods and app stores. So, pretty big deal here. We know that companies like Tencent and ByteDance have long disputed Apple's policies. So we'll see what happens there. But, we definitely see there we are, while yesterday was a good day here in North America where there was a little breathing room and we had Trump talking to both the president of Canada and Mexico and discussing how they can, soothe the way into getting into a better working situation. China has definitely stepped up and said, hey, bring it on.
Yeah, well, China's a different situation than we are a huge partner with them. We have to have Chinese products. I noticed the USPS stopped yesterday, turned it back on again so we can collect tariffs from China. But, trade wars just don't work. Difference with China is that it is across the world, and we can get the same products that we get from China. It's just not as cheap. So I will say that if you're looking for your new TV out of China cheap, nope, the prices are gonna go higher here. If you're looking for a TV now, probably it's too late now for that new big TV. If you want the biggest TV. Cheap TVs, the smaller ones, yeah, they're still the same because there's tons of them out there. But I don't know, I'm a little concerned that we might not be able to see that. So yeah.
Okay. Keeping in earnings reports here, Uber's down about 5% here today after having their earnings reports down almost exactly 5%. Uber did come out and said that they were up 20% year over year on revenue, which did beat expectations, and their net income was $6.9 billion, but 6.4 of that was a tax valuation release, so it didn't really help them. They've dropped down about 5%, like we said. They were expected to see growth in their gross bookings of about 17 to 21%, but they did not hit that. Revenue was strong, but their operating income was weaker than expected, and the stock was hit due to lower than expected gross bookings outlook. So we'll see there, but Uber definitely had a little bit of a miss here today, getting hit in the pre-market trading so far. As we are about 5 minutes away from the open here right now, advanced decline is positive about 848. So like yesterday, that can move either way because we see about 1,500 movement either to the north or south, that usually based upon stocks that only trade during market hours. Steve, VIX continues to move down. Are you any surprised at all by that? It's down below 17. I thought with everything going on, we might see a little bit more extended volatility there.
I mean, it's very simple. You buy volatility when you can, not when you have to. So I think it's very simple. Scott Bauer tells us all the time to do that. I've been saying that for years. and I said that yesterday in Schwab. I said, look, if you're looking to protect yourself, buying calls on longer dated calls on the VIX always protects you. Maybe you can continue to roll those out just in case things happen. Probably like $19 or $20 calls on VIX is always good. Yeah.
Absolutely. Just trying to see if any other numbers jump out at me here. Not really. A lot of the Chinese names had been hit earlier. The USPS had said they were not going to be delivering packages out of China because of Trump's executive order to make sure that they are, getting all of the tax revenue from these things. They felt that Temu, Shein, some of these other companies were using or avoiding paying revenues to the U.S. By sending packages in less than the $600 amount, and then that we weren't getting our revenue from there. But he has come back, or the USPS came back and said they are not going to implement that yet. So we'll see if that turns those around today.
Yeah, I mean, it's very simple. If you think about it, it's a pretty quick turnaround to having to implement all of those customs on all those packages. I mean, all those boxes, all those freight liners, all those shipping containers. No way in heck can we get all that done in one day. So that's just nuts. So.
Just seen coming across the ticket here, Brazilian plane maker Embraer said on Wednesday it had signed a purchase deal with FlexJet for $7 billion for a fleet of Phenom and Praetor executive jets. So 182 aircrafts and options for another 30. It's the largest order placed by FlexJet in its 30-year history. So, seeing some movement there, that's not good for Boeing, right?
No, I'm not worried about Boeing. Boeing is more bigger jets than Embraer. Embraer also being a Canadian company. They are looking at two things, right? The more Gulf jets, the more citations, the more things like that. So no, not really. I'm not too worried about it, but it could some good chances. Things could happen.
Seeing Chevron is in communication with the Trump administration as some Republicans are calling for the U.S. to revoke the company's license to operate in Venezuela. Again, like I said, just, all it takes is a tweet to move everything here. Looking at other movers here today so far, another winner today has been Lumens that came out of their earnings report up again. That yesterday they were up before earnings about 3.5%, up almost 10% today here after their earnings came out. I do have a breakdown here of some of that information.
ECB's Lane now says their tariffs are a downside risk to activity, but inflation impact is uncertain. Interesting.
And Lumens had strong fourth quarter results. They earned an adjusted 9 cents per share on revenue of $3.33 billion. They were expected to have a loss on that on revenue of $3.2 billion. So the telecommunication company moving up here nicely on that remark. I do see Fed's Barkin just came out and said Fed is closing in on 2%, but not quite there.
Yep. So what he's saying is, well, we've hit our numbers, but not quite there. So we may not want to lower rates just yet. Keeping inflation okay. Come on, Ellen. It's get real here. We still have issues here. We just saw job JOLTS numbers yesterday that weren't very good. People are nervous about losing their jobs. You got to lower rates so that people can borrow again. Housing market is falling apart quickly. People aren't buying. Home prices are coming down a little too quickly than normal. Yes, we get it during COVID, but those numbers have already kind of exacerbated a little bit. We need to lower rates, and they're trying to figure a way of how not to do it. But like I said yesterday, President Trump's got a pretty big bully pulpit, even with the Fed. While the Fed doesn't have to listen to him, they have to listen to him a little bit. Because he is the president and he makes some of those big decisions. And I think they really need to do that. Yeah, you're right. Workday up 5.5% as the workforce is restructuring. Most definitely.
Yeah. So they announced they are going to eliminate about 8.5% of their workforce. The number was like 1,750 jobs. So again, we see more of that happening. We are now open.
122.05 now on Nvidia, pushing higher here. Liking this on Nvidia.
Okay, like I said, advanced decline would move rapidly here, up 2,400 as pre-market opens. So first few ticks here are moving to the positive. See about 200 to the tick to the upside.
I think the daily chart is turned on Nvidia. I think now the buyers are stepping in. I think the sellers are done, and we're back up to ticks up at 183 here, 122.30 now. 98,756, 761 now on Bitcoin here. We need to see Bitcoin continue to push higher here. 122.50 now on. Yeah, look at that.
It's coming up right against resistance from the 200-day MA here. We'll see if we can break across that today. Yesterday we challenged it and then got pushed back down from that 200-day MA. So we'll watch that. As we can see outside of the Nvidia, the Mag 7 weighing heavily on the NASDAQ right now. Google down 7.85%, Apple down 1.2%, Amazon down over 2%, Tesla down 1%. So a lot of rapid movement here as these things start to play
that money coming out of AMD is going right into Nvidia.
Yeah. As you mentioned, Bitcoin sitting just below 99 right now. The big rebound has been in some of the alts. Ethereum up 2.83%, Cardano up 3.66% versus yesterday. Avalanche up around 2%, SHIB up 40, and then our favorite Trump coin up about 15% today. So
we're hearing reports that Honda Motors is now reporting on integration of management between Honda and Nissan Motors. They plan to establish a direction and make announcement around mid-February. Hey, are we going to see Honda and Nissan come together here?
I mean, there's been talk of it. There was rumors those two were going to merge, last month while you were overseas. We'll say we still see we see a little bit of a sell-off here in Mattel. Obviously, that big move up before pre-market. Some of that getting sold off, but now trying to move back towards the upside. It did move back down to 2045, had been as high as 2133. So we see a little bit of a sell-off on some of these pumpers this morning. Same thing, JCI, which is Johnson Controls. They had very strong earnings reports here overnight, and they have been up tremendously on that, pulling back a little bit here as people take some profits. So not surprised to see that. Let's see if any of the losers are starting to pull back.
Canada's S&P Global Services PMI numbers coming in at 49 versus the expected 48.2 prior. Push that up there.
FMC, which had been the big loser, down 25%, continuing to drop here. Now down 33.55%. And this is another one where they actually had a beat on EPS. They did miss revenue slightly. But they are definitely, basically the CEO admitted the company needs a strong reset. So we've seen a couple of analyst downgrades here already this morning. I'm seeing Mizuho analyst downgraded it to $51, RBC pushing it to $47, and Citi analyst pushing it down also. So we're seeing FMC continuing to get hit here this morning.
Disney's up almost 3%. Whew, come on, Disney. We'll see S&P Global final PMI numbers coming in, and service numbers coming in about, looks like in about 15 minutes here, 13 minutes. Prior reading was 55.4 and 56.8. So expansion still on there, but not quite as heavy as I'd like them to be. NVIDIA pushing right back up. There's a lot of, obviously, open interest and volume in the options on NVIDIA there. So just be careful.
We do see CDW up about 7.46% here today. Steve, they had their earnings report. They had a nice little beat, 2.48 on EPS at over expectations at 232. They also did increase their dividend 1% to about 0.625% a share. They did also authorize a share buyback of $750 million. They are now going to buy back over $1.3 billion, and there's still $588 million outstanding from their last program. So you're looking at about $1.3 billion in buybacks there. And I will say their dividend growth since their IPO in 2013 has gone up 15x. So nice, CDW, big in the government again in DC. I used to hear their commercials all day long on the radio as a big supplier of computer parts to the government. So nice.
Big dump on Merck this morning, about 1.5%. I like that down there. I bought yesterday 80.30, back to 89.30. Still up on that position, but not really sure what that sell was there a little bit.
We do see NVIDIA cooling off a little bit here now, back below the 122 mark. Microsoft and Meta now have gone positive on the day. So again, we do see that big shift in, positioning on the Mag 7 happen in this first 15 here in the first 5 minutes of the day.
I think a lot of people just, the early trade and between 9:30 and 10. It's a silly way of trading, but some people love it, and that's fine. But we trade all day long.
We are seeing the big winner in the indices so far is the Russell 2000, the RUT, up about 40 basis points here, about the same. The negative on the QQQ down about 43 basis points. SPY currently down about 15 basis points, and the Dow pretty flat, up about 4 basis points so far this morning.
That looks like institutional buying to me on NVIDIA here. While the retail is definitely in it, I think institutions are actually picking this up. I wouldn't be short NVIDIA in any way, shape, form, or fashion.
Gold up another 1% here. Looks like it's trying to push to an all-time high here. I did say yesterday I thought it would get to 2,900. It didn't. It made it to 2,877. Does look like it wants to challenge back up there again today. As Steve talked about, he sees silver going to 50 right now at 32.27. Had made a run to 32.55. Hasn't challenged the 52-week high there. We know we got up to almost 35 over the fourth quarter of 2024. Tick has gone slightly negative here, and advanced decline has come down about 1,000. So we are seeing a little bit of profit taking here on some of these as we go through.
I think profit is okay. I'm always for profit taking, but I just feel like right now I wouldn't be. There's too much goodness going on right now in the world, especially in AI, especially in technology. I would not be negative any of this right now. I like it. Google, 193.78, 193.82, trying to get back above, but it's really struggling today.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I would say, too, we're seeing some sell-offs on some of the ones that were early winners. Lumen here has sold off, now down 2%. They were up in pre-market trading after their earnings. Same thing here. Enphase, the solar company, solar power company, had been up in pre-market trading. Nas retraced down 1.24%. So, and then another one I was watching, Fox had been one of the few companies that was up for the second day in a row here that had been a decent earner yesterday and was still up. That has now gone negative. Disney now has gone negative almost 64 basis points here, Steve. Again, they had good earnings. It was moving in the right way. You can see, the market just isn't reacting. I think we're seeing overreactions, in my opinion, to some of this news right now.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about anything going on here.
Bank of England expected to cut interest rates. That just came across the board here. We know that they are up before the Fed. So we'll see how that goes. Also seeing released here, Treasury keeps plan for bond issuance steady. It's a relief for now, so no increases to our bond sales right now. Is what had been.
Google's pushing a little bit, 194.35, as we now see 99.9 here now on Bitcoin. So could see back to 100,000 here on Bitcoin today.
Tick has moved back up to the positive side here. We do see that, QQQ is starting to push back up here towards the highs. They are actually at the highs of the day, 52.67 here. So we do see now that turnaround as some of those Mag 7s as Google sees, down. It was down over 7%, now down 6.5%. Again, Meta now moving to a positive. So we are seeing a little bit of a pushback here by the Mag 7 into the positive area here. Starting to give a little bit of breathing room to the market so far. If we take a look at the spider indices that cover the 11 sectors here, Do see more in the green than in the red. Big loser on the day so far, XLC, which is the communication sector. So they are down the most here, down about 1%. We don't see any really movers one way or the other. Closest on the upside is XLU, which is utilities, up 95 basis points here. So we are seeing a little bit of positivity in the market. It is a stock picker's day. Tick has gone positive and negative throughout the day. We're now pretty flat here. We do see advanced declines come down about 900. It was up around 28, now down around 19 here. So
Boeing's up 1.6% this morning.
They've struggled to hold above 180. They did get, on the news, on their earnings release, they did pop up to 190, pulled back down here. That 180 level has been a tough spot for it to break so far.
$98.9 on the Bitcoin.
Seeing Dollar Tree up 2.64% here this morning. So a little bit of that budget retail picking up here. Google back down over 7% here. So a little bit of buying that we saw there turning around. As you mentioned, Merck up about 1.22% here today. Showing pretty good move. NVIDIA now back below 121. Oracle's having a pretty good day here, up to 170.67, up about 1.67%. So Oracle starting to move back up. We know they had gapped down tremendously after their earnings report a few weeks ago. As I mentioned, Chinese companies getting hit. PDD, Temu's parent company, down 2.41% here today.
Bitcoin pushing through that 99,000 handle there.
JD down 1.8%, and Baba down about 1 percentage point. So we do see weakness across those Chinese names, as we see a little bit of a, trade war still on the books here with China. Mattel now moving back up, almost up 14.5%. So again, those algos seem to sell off right away, Steve. Take profits, and then you see the buy and pick back up on some of these. Novo Nordisk still up, just broke above 86 here, up 4.16% here this morning. Electronic Arts with a nice beat on their earnings too, Steve, moving up. They are up 5% here this morning after their earnings reports came out yesterday.
I mean, people are rewarding for them. Yeah, they're rewarding wins, right? So if you have a good earnings number, you're getting rewarded, and money that's coming out of other companies are being rewarded by those companies. So there's NVIDIA.
I think I'd also call it, if you're also being fiscally responsible, right? There's
right.
A lot of companies that people feel are overspending on their CapEx without return. If you're not doing that, I think the market likes it also.
NVIDIA just blew out every short there, just nailed them.
I will say with EA, some things that I took away there is, again, that they are seeing their full game downloads really explode, 471 million. While they did see their package games, I don't know anybody that, we've talked about, this is the problem with GameStop, right? Why do you go to GameStop when I can download my game now directly from the manufacturer? So we're seeing that pick up, and the packaged goods are down. EA shares have been hit hard lately, down about 15%. So this earnings is buoying the market a little bit here. So we'll see how that goes. Most analysts have kept them at basically a neutral rating. So we'll see if that moves one way or the other. Wow. Santander Brazil's net profit surged 75% in Q4. Bank Santander.
Looks like NVIDIA's got that linear regression line setting up pretty nicely on NVIDIA there on the 1 minute chart. If you put a 1 minute chart of NVIDIA and you overlay a little bit of linear regression, you can see exactly what people are looking at NVIDIA.
I'll keep linear on my short one here. There it is.
You can see right there in the bounce, the 1 minute chart.
Oh, you want 1 minute? I do 3.
Almost perfect. Look at that.
Yeah, it won't break to the upside though either. It's been hit
No.
from both sides.
We are seeing the 10-year though slipping here, 4.48%. We can get below that 4.4%. We might go here. Markets may just take off. We're fairly flat. I mean, the Nasdaq's flat on the day, and Dow's up about 34 points. Nothing here, right? It's a stock pickers market, as you said earlier, and that's what I thought we would be at today. Some of the stocks that have been beaten up are getting some love again, and some of the stocks that deserve to be beaten up are getting beaten up today. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is the basic theme of the day is earnings, and in
Numbers
earnings.
coming out now for services PMI coming out at 52.9. We expect the 52.8. Previous reading is 52.9, so that's about right. The composite PMI 52.7 versus 52.4 expected there. Previous reading was 52.5, so kind of right in line there. I'll post those numbers for everybody, so everybody can see the numbers. There you go. That means that services are expanding. That means those restaurants are still working a little bit, but that also puts a little pressure on not lowering rates too as well. So we need to see the labor numbers. I think Barkin was talking about earlier. And to me, I think that's kind of the key here. So yeah, look at
Barkin
NVIDIA.
did also mention lower labor supply from immigration would not be good for firms. It's going to raise the labor cost, as you can imagine.
Yep. Well, when we don't have the immigrants inside to wash the dishes and make the food, yeah, we got to hire U.S. citizens, but that puts more inflation pressure on us.
Yeah, absolutely.
I opened up the refrigerator outside in a garage, and I saw 24 eggs in the fridge. I was like, I think I found $1 million.
Tick is going positive here for the last few minutes, so we are seeing a little bit move now to the upside. We see QQQs down about 40 basis points, SPY down 15 basis points. The Dow has gone positive on the day, up about 10 basis points, and the big winner so far, the Russell 2000, up about 43 basis points here at 22.99. Trying to get back. There it goes, 2,300. Bitcoin can't break above 99 and hold so far. Same thing. Ethereum unable to hold above 29, pulling back. Gold trying to get up here to an all-time high again, 28.68 right now. It is doing pretty well getting there. Silver has retraced a little bit so far this morning. Oil, we see WTI at about 71.79. I did see again another report yesterday, Steve, late in the day that the SPR had been restocked.
Yep.
You mentioned yesterday to watch for that, so we did see that yesterday.
Some of the numbers come out with Baltic Dry Index. If you don't know, those are shipping numbers, BDI numbers, up 2.4%. The new number 771 there on Baltic Dry. Why is it important? Those are the shipping lanes. Those are the big shippers coming around the world. And the Panamax, the big ones there, up 87 points to 988. That's the highest number since January 9th, so a month ago, when the tariff numbers were starting to come out. So people are shipping as fast as they possibly can around getting those products out before the big tariffs come out. The Supramax, the bigger ships, up 14 points but the Cape size, those large vessels, big boys, down 32 points. So that means things of it like iron ore and coal. So we're going to be using our own coal here. So we're not shipping those to the United States. So right now, those numbers, man, Panamax numbers are way bigger. That means that's food. Panamax means like corn and things of that nature are moving around the world a lot faster. And I also think that it could be restocking of holiday supplies, meaning that anything that we ate during the winter now need to be restocked.
I'm seeing it headline 10 and 30-year yields fall to new 2025 lows on risk of all-out war in the Middle East.
Yep. Makes sense. I mean, when you threaten to take over the Gaza Strip, that's a big problem.
Yeah, I didn't have that on my bingo card yesterday for sure.
Uh-oh. Is that Travis Kelce says told CNBC
Diamond.
that diamonds are a good investment? Okay. Is Taylor Swift getting married?
I knew where you were going to go. I saw that come across. I think that is meant to be a joke about getting married to Miss Swift.
Yeah, of course it is. I think you might be asking the pop in the question. Probably good for the NFL as well. The Super Bowl coming up, right, this weekend, and I could care less who wins, to be honest with you. But
you just mentioned, I just want anybody but the Chiefs there. You mentioned the
hard one for me. I do not like the Eagles, as everybody knows. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. This is one that's tough for me because I don't like Eagles and I don't want the Chiefs catching my Patriots here. So, Waffle House has added a surcharge to eggs of 50 cents a piece to their eggs. Waffle House, that's a big deal.
That's a very big deal. Yes. It's a lot of late night people drinking that going to the Waffle House at 4 a.m. and realizing that their egg prices just went up by $1 or $2.
Yeah, absolutely. Disney is continuing to slide a little bit here, Steve.
Boeing's pushing higher, though.
I know the number you generally like. You looking at it if it gets back down a little bit lower here towards the $100 mark?
If it gets below 100, I mean, it's an obviously a buy, but it's up 14% since then, right? I like Disney. I think that they're winning on the cruise ships. I think that even people are really paying up to be on the Disney cruise ship.
Yeah, I know that the 4-year-old has been mentioning that lately. They've been doing more ads. Is not helping my life be any smoother.
No, it's very expensive to go on the cruise ship.
Jim
Cramer just says NVIDIA is the only game in town. Thanks, Jim. Appreciate that. Remember, this is the same guy who did not like NVIDIA a couple years ago and now loves NVIDIA. Just thinks it's the greatest thing on since sliced bread. Just needs to stop.
AMD now down 10% here, so we continue to see slides across FMC, AMD, Google now down 7.52, moving to the downside. We're not seeing much of a bounce back by any of the ones that were beat up earlier today. Dayforce down about 8.54% here. Corteva down 2.37. Fair Isaac Corp down 4.87. These were the ones that were down pre-market. None of them really rebounding. UNH, you mentioned earlier, down another 2.6%. Back down to 531.29. Not seeing
UNH. They're still going to be in lawsuits. There's still all kinds of things going on with UNH. But UNH is still UNH. They still are a moneymaker. They still get cash every single month from all these firms and all these people in insurance. So not too concerned about UNH, but.
Fiserv up 7.18% here. FI on now up 7%, jumping pretty quick here. They just had their earnings announcement. And if we look at the numbers here, their EPS was a slight beat of about 1%, revenue down about 1%. So they've got to be on some guidance there. We'll get you that information as soon as it comes up. But a nice move up here by Fiserv today on their earnings.
And Bitcoin's really struggling today here, the 99,000 handle.
Yeah, definitely under some pressure, without a doubt.
I have to ask, who's selling the Bitcoin at under 100,000? I mean,
all the new retail investors that thought it would go to 150 the day that President Trump took office. That's who's selling it. Mag 7 now, we do see Meta up 1.53% here, so they're definitely the winner so far this morning that we're seeing hold up its strength, 715.68 here. Did get as high as 718 a little earlier, but they are buoying up the NASDAQ a little, again, as you've been all over all morning. NVIDIA here back up towards that 122 mark at 121.82. Hasn't been able to break 122 and hold so far this morning. We'll see if it can do that. Tick has remained pretty choppy here. It is slightly down right now. And we do see advanced decline is moving down a little bit more here now into 1600 level. So we do see this choppiness looks like it's pushing us back to a more neutral day here. We do see the Dow has gone negative now, 8 basis points, SPY negative 27 basis points, and the QQQ negative 50 basis points this morning. Only winner so far, again, as we've talked about, is the Russell 2000, the small market cap. A small cap stocks up about 41 basis points so far. Gold at 28.70, attempting to break to the all-time high here, 28.77. So we do see commodities getting a little bit of a win there, especially gold and silver today, the big winners so far. Bitcoin, Ethereum, gold, and silver all up today over 0.7 of a percentage point. They tend to be the winners. Gas down about 0.6 of a percentage point so far today. We do know OPEC is set to meet here this week. Also, expected announcement of more production that would be a little bit more of a relief for gas prices also. So we'll keep an eye on that. Steve has put up here major earnings today to keep an eye on: Ford Motors, Qualcomm, O'Reilly Auto Parts, one of my favorite commercials, MetLife, and McKesson. So definitely some big ones to keep an eye on. Any of those you're going to be watching here, Steve, today?
Yeah, most definitely. I'll be looking at your favorite. Probably is MSTR, MicroStrategy.
I don't know if I'll be watching theirs that much, and the reason is he's
Okay.
so transparent. Most of what's going on there. They every Monday announce what they've bought in Bitcoin. He updates everybody every 30 seconds on Twitter as to what's going on there. I will say, Michael Saylor, happy birthday. Yesterday was his 60th birthday.
Yeah,
I'll definitely be watching it because I do want to see what he has to say for sure. But I wonder if they'll announce today. They're pretty. He does keep things close to the vest, and what I mean there is, I would like to see, did they buy yesterday on the dip? Are they buying today on the dip? I don't know if he'll announce that. They usually wait till they have to, the last day to report to the SEC their purchases is when we tend to see that. But yeah, MicroStrategy definitely one to keep an eye on today. Yeah, I don't know what could. That's a great one to keep an eye on because I don't know what could surprise anybody out of their earnings. So we'll see what happens there if it moves it one way or the other.
My eye is definitely this selling in Bitcoin 98,000 now. It's beginning to concern me a little bit. Is there a reason just people are just selling into the Bitcoin here? Are they worried that Trump's not going to do everything he says he's going to do?
I mean, it's up almost 0.5% today. Steve, I would ask you, Amazon's down 2%. Why are people selling Amazon today?
I think it's very simple for Amazon. I think that people are taking their profit in Amazon and putting it into NVIDIA.
Okay, well, there you go. I mean, for Bitcoin, why are they selling? Because you asked me a half hour ago, I said, going to give you the same answer, is that retail traders that felt it would go to $250,000 the day Trump.
Are they just nervous? I mean, I don't really understand what their concern is here. They're nervous about what.
They're not Bitcoiners. They don't know anything about it. They bought it because they heard from their friends, their cousins, their relatives that they should buy it because it's going to go up with Trump. They've been watching Kramer Rame about it. They've been watching it all over the news, how everything is going to be crypto related. And when stuff doesn't, what do we say? They sell the news, right? That's what you got to sell the news events. It's similar to what we've seen in gold, right? How long does it take in gold to break through that 27.90 mark? There was no reason people should be selling gold at that point. They should still be buying it.
Gold went through that number like a hot knife through butter. I mean, it
didn't for 2.5 months.
Right, but when it did it was gone. I mean, that we're seeing it now. I mean, 28.71 right now on gold. That's crazy. I mean, we're going to hit 3,000 on gold probably by spring sometime, if not earlier. There goes NVIDIA. That's what I said. The money's coming right out of Bitcoin into NVIDIA. 120, almost near the high of the day. 122.50. Can it break 67 there where the high of the day is? That's why I've said don't sleep on NVIDIA. The institutions are buying, retail are selling. Let the toots buy because I like this here. There it is. Now the highs of the day, 122.77, and right through the high of the day, like I just said, like a hot knife through butter.
Definitely seeing that push up by NVIDIA here now, 3.48%. Google down 7.8% here, so they're still taking the beating. Big loser on the day out of the Mag 7 so far for sure, Google here.
I am still long NVIDIA. I mean, I'm not going to sell my NVIDIA. I like it. I'm going to stay long. I think we're going to go right back up. I think it's going to be 130, 130, 140, 140, 50, 150, somewhere around there in the springtime, man. Why would we want to do anything less than that?
What's interesting is we're seeing the tick has been positive here for the last 15 minutes or so, but advanced decline not moving up really tremendously. So people are jumping into the winners. They're not really doing a lot of movement here.
All right. It is top of the hour. It's 10 o'clock, and we don't have any data or news coming out, so that's a good place to stop here, Howard.
Okay, buddy. I will see you again tomorrow morning. Have a fantastic day. I'm going to wait here. I have Stephen Flanagan coming in, and we will see you on the back end, my friend. Okay, so keeping an eye here, as we talked about, NVIDIA is up here about 3.66%. As we look at the tick, we are down about 81 on that advanced decline, sitting at about 1686 so far, and VIX down about 1689. Still negative on all of the three major indices. The RUT is up slightly at 47 basis points, but still a little weak here across the board. I just realized something. Folks, we're going to take a quick break. I just realized that Mr. Flanagan's in another room here looking for us. I'm going to restart this stream in 2 seconds with Mr. Flanagan. I'll be right back.